Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at our weekly briefing. The theme for the week is economic development. We'll be hearing from our economic development director and from Downtown Madison, Inc. But first, as always, we will start with an update from Public Health. So please welcome to the podium Janelle Heinrich, the Director of Public Health Madison Dane County.
Good morning. Per usual, I'll start with some data highlights. As of today, there have been 36,900 people diagnosed with COVID-19 in Dane County. COVID activity, as measured by case counts, percent positivity, and hospitalizations, have continued to decline in the past few weeks, which is great news. Our 14-day average is 94.9 cases per day, which is down from 113.4 last week. Our percent positivity is 1.4%. Hospitalizations are decreasing right now, and there are 36 people hospitalized with COVID in Dane County. In the past week, UW students and staff have comprised nearly 50% of individuals diagnosed with COVID. This is not surprising in that the UW is doing an incredible amount of testing, which supports rapid identification of people with COVID-19 and helps to contain the spread of the disease through contact tracing, isolation, and quarantine support. We're monitoring this data closely for evidence of increasing case counts in other age groups. But good news, we're not currently seeing any such increase amongst other age groups. On the vaccination front, as of February 16th, more than 1 million doses of vaccine have been administered statewide. In Dane County, 119,733 doses have been administered, which translates into 83,732 people, or 15.3% of the population, receiving at least one dose of vaccine. 36,002 people have received both doses, which is 6.6% of our total population. You can learn more about people who have been vaccinated on our dashboard. Vaccinators across the state are currently immunizing frontline healthcare workers, fire and police personnel, EMS staff, and people who are 65 years of age or older. And we continue in Dane County to meet regularly to assure continued coordination and efficient delivery of vaccines as more groups become eligible. But remember that eligible may not equal available. Vaccine supply is still limited, and there is more demand than supply. Visit our website, publichealthmdc.com, for more information on groups eligible and next steps to take if you are currently eligible. This moment of the COVID pandemic represents an incredible amount of hope and caution. Vaccines are here and add to the mitigation strategies that we've been practicing for the last year. And we are racing against the COVID variants, which, while the vaccines are increasingly proven to be effective against, are more transmissible, which means they spread more easily. Time will tell whether a more transmissible variant in Wisconsin will have an impact clinically, meaning more cases and more people in the hospital. What we do know is that it remains important to continue to wear a mask, maintain distance from people you don't live with, gather outdoors, and limit the activities that you engage in on a daily or weekly basis where these prevention practices are hard to maintain. Thank you, and stay well.
Thank you, Janelle. And I know that we both tend to sound a little bit like broken records, but we have to say it every time. Please keep wearing your masks, keep that 6-foot distance between you and folks not in your household, and keep washing your hands or sanitizing until we are all vaccinated. We all have to chip in to keep our community safe. So now we move on to the economic development portion of the briefing. Our next speaker is Matt Miklajewski, who's our economic development director, who'll be talking about the work that the city is doing to support small and local businesses during COVID-19.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Before I talk about some of the activities of the city, I just want to start by putting in a plug for some of the other programs that are available to businesses within our community. Most notably, the Paycheck Protection Plan, which is the federal program being supported through the Small Business Administration. During the first round of the PPP program last year, about 3,500 City of Madison businesses received assistance. And it's our understanding that Dane County as a whole really was on the leading edge of use of the PPP program within the country. PPP has not worked for every business within the community, but it has worked for many. And so we want to keep putting in a plug for businesses that are able to take advantage of that PPP program to do so. The current round of the program is open through the end of March, and more information is available on the sba.gov website. In addition to PPP, we are closely monitoring what other financial support to support business development might be coming out of both the federal government and the state government. Governor Evers released his budget earlier this week that includes several promising programs that could be beneficial to Madison businesses, and we look forward to continuing to monitor both the federal and state assistance that might be coming in the future, and we'll certainly do what we can to help our local Madison business owners take advantage of those programs. Turning now to the attention of the city and what the city has been doing, most notably, we've been working on launching the Small Business Equity and Recovery COVID grants. And these are grants, a total up to $10,000 that were available to historically underrepresented entrepreneurs to assist both with the purchase of PPE and also to assist with revenue loss that they may have experienced. We've received nearly 500 applications from businesses throughout the city, most in the service sector, so those industries that have been most directly impacted by the COVID pandemic. We are still in the process of reviewing those applications, but I'm happy to say that we've issued already about $1.1 million worth of checks to Madison business owners through that effort. And we suspect that we are going to be issuing at least an additional $1 million before we finish reviewing all the applications that we received. The program application for that initial round of the SBER program has closed, so we are no longer supporting those COVID grants, or at least no longer receiving new applications. We are, though, looking at ways to continue the Small Business Equity and Recovery Program through a variety of other initiatives that the mayor and the council has put forward to us through that program. So later this year, we're going to start looking at such things as improving online access for business owners throughout the community, launching a Business Ready program, very similar to the Public Market Ready program, to provide a cohort of entrepreneurs, especially those that are from historically underrepresented groups, the opportunity to start and grow their businesses in the post-COVID economy that we hope to build. So again, we will likely devote about $2.5 million total to the COVID recovery grants, and we'll be continuing some other initiatives through the SBER program for the balance of the year. One very noticeable initiative that the city has been working on to support our restaurants is our streetery program. Earlier last year, and again this year, the Common Council has waived all sidewalk cafe and street vending fees for restaurants citywide. We've also changed the requirements such that rather than applying for a new application for the upcoming street vending and sidewalk cafe season, those restaurants that had a license this past year will simply be able to continue to operate as they did the previous year. We're not going to require new permit fees, and we're not going to require that new applications be submitted, which will hopefully save both time and money to some of our restaurant owners that are facing challenges through this pandemic. In addition, as you may recall, last summer, the city launched a very successful streetery program that enabled restaurants to expand their sidewalk cafe presence on the public right-of-way, and also for restaurants with parking lots to utilize those parking lots for additional dining without very much regulation on the part of the city. I'm happy to say that next week, Tuesday, the council is going to consider ordinance changes that will extend that streetery program all the way through April of 2022, so an additional new year. And, we're very hopeful that given the number of businesses that took advantage of streetery this past year, that as soon as we have warm weather, which will hopefully be here soon, businesses will be able to get out there and operate their streeteries and have that socially distanced outdoor dining that is really critical during this pandemic. We also want to stress that a lot of attention has been given to these wonderful streeteries that have been set up in the downtown, and to be sure, it's been a great use of public space. But I think it's also important to really stress that streetery can be used by any restaurant in the community that has a parking lot, and they can take advantage of parking spaces and parking lots for outdoor dining. And this is something that we really hope to continue to work with restaurants throughout the coming summer, all restaurants that have parking lots in more of the areas outside of the downtown to take advantage of that space for outdoor dining. We are also, so these, the SBR COVID recovery grants and the streetery program are really an attempt to address the situation that we're facing today relative to COVID. We also, though, are starting to ask the question about how we can build back to better as we are moving out of the COVID pandemic, and how we can really create a more diverse and inclusive business community, especially a small business community, in the years ahead. And to this end, we're starting to work on several initiatives. As I mentioned before, we're looking at other aspects of the SBER program to include online retail support, helping to support pop-ups throughout the community, and also the Business Ready program to help historically underrepresented entrepreneurs get started. We also, though, are looking at some initiatives such as the Urban League's Black Business Hub and consideration of locating that at the Village on Park, which is a facility owned by the city's Community Development Authority. The council also recently approved funding to assist Dr. G with the Center for Black Excellence to also be built in South Madison to, again, help support the development of Black business, but also to provide enhanced opportunity to grow our Black business professionals throughout the community. And in addition to those initiatives, and I should say, we are also very excited to announce that Saran Oak will be joining the Economic Development Division to lead the Office of Business Resources. Saran is an existing city employee who's shown tremendous leadership in her time with the city, and will really be a tremendous addition to the team and help the Economic Development Division with these exciting new initiatives. In addition to these initiatives, though, certainly we are very excited about the partnership that we've built with Downtown Madison, Inc. and the Central Madison Business Improvement District to take a look at what we can do to support downtown recovery that's more equitable and more inclusive and more welcoming to the entire community. And to that end, we've been very grateful to DMI's leadership in pulling together a downtown group of many diverse stakeholders to work with the city on that effort. And you'll be hearing some more from Jason Ilstrup shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And I join Matt in welcoming Saran to her new position and the Office of Business Resources. Very excited about that. And now, as Matt said, we're going to hear from Jason Ilstrup, who's the Executive Director of Downtown Madison, Inc., to talk about the partnerships between the city, DMI, and the downtown community. Jason?
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you, Janelle and Matt, for the updates as well. And I want to say a huge thank you to the City of Madison. It has been a pleasure to work with you throughout this very difficult time for many businesses and for employees downtown. And the accomplishments that you listed, Matt, are very important to keeping businesses and their employees here in our community. We could not thank you enough for the SBER grants. Those have been pivotal for many downtown and many throughout our city. For the Streetery program also in particular. That has really changed how we view public space. And I think it is really an important project, and we certainly urge the council to keep that moving forward up until 2022. This is a huge initiative. It keeps people safe, it keeps people downtown, and really creates great energy at a time when that's hard to do, when we all have to take COVID so seriously. So thank you to the city for all that they do. And thank you as well for being wonderful partners on the Downtown Group. And that is why I am here today to discuss this, I think, unique public-private partnership of a diverse group of leaders that have come together to say, how can we build back better downtown? How can we reimagine? How can we take the events, these hard events of the last year or so downtown, and build on what we had before that was strong and make it even better and reimagine a new future? And this is what the Downtown Group is all about. We knew, about a year ago that this was going to be difficult times for the businesses, for the institutions, for the nonprofits, for the governments, for the university, for everybody downtown. And we needed to think of a different way to get things accomplished, a different way to find short, near, long-term goals and ideas. And the best way to do that was to work with our partners at the city and facilitate together a public-private partnership. And I've had the honor of working with Matt and the teams from the Economic Development Division, several alders Verveer, alders Heck, and alders Waheli, who have been there. The mayor's office has been represented. Teams from throughout the city, plus a whole series of nonprofit, civic, and business leaders from the entire area. And what has been so heartwarming about the process is how many different people and groups are involved. Many people that were never involved in downtown, but really now understand it's important to support our center city, one of the hearts of Madison. And there's over 50 organizations that are taking part in some way, shape, or form with the Downtown Group. The work has been focused on three main areas: on activation and programming, thanks to our great friends at Madison Central Business Improvement District and the leadership of Tiffany Kinney. Also in economic development, which Amy Supple and the team have been doing a great job of bringing programs to try to make sure the businesses survive now and thrive in the future. And then last, but certainly not least, is equity. How does equity fit into this entire picture? Because the main goal of the Downtown Group is to reimagine downtown, to think big. And the best way to think big is to make sure that our entire community feels that it is a vibrant and equitable downtown where everyone is welcome. And that is the biggest challenge we have, and make sure that we're talking to all the different people we can from the city about what they want to see downtown. This group has been off and running for about 6 months, and so we've seen some very successful projects, including the Community Martin Luther King Dinner. Downtown has always been the home of several Martin Luther King celebratory events on his holiday. One of the largest at the state capitol at noon, and then the King Coalition hosts their great event at the Overture Center in the evening. Unfortunately, those cannot happen. Rightfully, they cannot happen now under COVID. But how could we still live up to the legacy of Martin Luther King and ensure we celebrate together? And so a group of businesses, particularly led by the Overture Center, Betty Custer and Emily Grunwald, plus Tiffany Kinney and Dave Heidi from Little John's, thought, let's have a community meal. And people could give $5 on top of the order that they took delivery from downtown at different restaurants, add on $5, and that would go to someone in the community that could get the meal and pick up safely on Martin Luther King Day. They fed over 2,600 people. It just shows what can happen when government and the private sector work together. The group is also, as Matt mentioned, helping with the pop-up shop program. Unfortunately, we have a few vacancies on State Street, but how can we use that in the Market Ready program to bring different businesses owned by people of color, more here downtown? and say, here, let's try it out, see what this space is like, and really create new energy through the pop-up program. We're doing economic development work to see what the overall power of downtown is. We're doing scenario planning. What is it going to look like in 2030? We've helped our friends at Destination Madison with the Shop Madison campaign, which is hyper important before the holidays, but in particular now, as the mayor always so correctly says, shop local, shop your businesses down. If you don't shop them now in the safe ways you can, through delivery, through takeout, then they may not be here come the spring. So now shop local, and that campaign really launched by Destination Madison was very powerful. So that is just a few of the items that the group is working on. We're very excited to continue this work into the future, and we ask any of you, if you have any interest in thinking big about downtown and how to reimagine the space and cast a new vision for downtown where everybody is welcome, come join us as we work together to build a stronger downtown.
Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate the work that DMI and other downtown stakeholders have done. I appreciate the partnership. I really appreciate the thinking big about what the future of downtown can be and how it can be a place that's welcoming for everyone in our community. So thank you really for those efforts. I have a few things to go through today, and then we'll get to our normal information about resources, meetings, and take some questions. I want to start by thanking Governor Evers for the many provisions in his budget that support local governments and support the services that we provide to our residents. Thank you, Governor Evers, for listening to cities who have spearheaded the response to the COVID-19 crisis at a time when our revenues were shrinking, and for advocating for new tools to help us balance our budgets. And when the state pays more for the cost of schools, not only do our students do better, but our property taxpayers here in Madison do better as well. So thank you for proposing to invest in our schools. I especially want to thank the governor for supporting transit funding so that our transit system can grow as our region grows, and to thank him for his steadfast support of workforce housing, which is very needed in communities across the state, and particularly here in Madison. The governor also wants to give cities more say in the tenant-landlord relationship so that we can better protect our tenants in these difficult times. And the governor is thinking smart on climate, with additional steps towards meeting the state's clean energy goals. And overall, I have to say, I think that Governor Evers' budget is a very good one, based on input from people all across the state. And I hope that the legislature will put aside partisanship and work with Governor Evers to do what's right for our state. I want to alert folks to an opportunity. If you don't have health insurance, if you're currently in a COBRA situation, or if you're paying too much for your health insurance, we know that it can be very difficult to find health insurance during a pandemic, and obviously it's more important than ever to have it. There is a new special enrollment period for the Affordable Care Act's Marketplace for the COVID-19 public health emergency. Marketplace enrollment reopened on February 15th and will remain open until May 15th. You can find out more or apply at healthcare.gov. And there are local services that can help you with the application process or provide additional support. Covering Wisconsin can help you navigate the healthcare marketplace through healthcare.gov. Call 211 or visit wiscovered, that's wiscovered.com for more information. And Health Connect is available if you need assistance paying your 2021 premiums. The United Way of Dane County can help lower income individuals and families who make too much to be eligible for Badger Care purchase insurance in the marketplace via the Health Connect Premium Assistance Program. This is made possible because of generous donations from UW Health and courts. And it pays the balance of eligible participants' monthly health insurance premiums that are not covered by the premium tax credit available through the marketplace. To be eligible for Health Connect, you must live in Dane County, be a U.S. citizen or legal resident, enroll in a marketplace health plan, and fall within a certain income range. Again, you can call 211 or visit unitedwaydanecounty.org/healthconnect for eligibility information and assistance in signing up. People who do not have access to computers or the internet can call their local library to make an appointment to use the library's computers to sign up at healthcare.gov. In other news, in supporting our community, the emergency rental assistance is now available in Madison and Dane County. The application for rental assistance support is on the Tenant Resource Center's website. So if you go to core.tenantresourcecenter.org, that's core.tenantresourcecenter.org, you'll find the information about the program and how to apply. This program is about supporting tenants in Dane County who owe past rent because of lost income or other financial hardships due to COVID-19. Our priority is to ensure that those who have been most impacted by COVID-19 get the necessary support to maintain their housing. We want people to maintain housing and not be evicted. The program prioritizes assistance for lower income households making 30% of county median income. These standards are set by the federal government, and just as an example, 30% county median income in Madison for a family of 4 is $30,050, or for single individuals, it's $2,150. While that standard is the prioritization of funds, households making up to 50% of county median income are eligible to apply. Again, go to the Tenant Resource Center's website for more information on eligibility. I want to note that these are not the same funds as the original CARES Act program that the Tenant Resource Center operated. So if you received assistance through the CARES Act program, you are still eligible to apply again for this funding, but you do have to submit a new application to the Dane Core program. With required documentation. There are documents that you're going to need to submit. The City of Madison and Dane County together has received about $16 million from the federal government for emergency rental assistance. We are quite aware that these funds will not cover all of the need in our community for rental assistance. However, we do anticipate additional funds from the federal government to continue to help support housing needs in our community. The Biden administration has proposed a little bit over $19 billion for emergency rental assistance across the country as part of President Biden's American Rescue Plan. This bill has not yet been voted on by Congress, but it is my hope that it will be passed with this provision and many others so that we can help reach folks here in Madison and across the country who desperately need this support. President Biden also extended the nationwide moratorium on evictions and foreclosures until at least March 31st. Again, there are some requirements around this. So if you are at risk of eviction or foreclosure, please reach out to 211 or to the Tenant Resource Center or other providers to figure out how you can apply to be eligible there. It's my hope that Congress will make it possible to support folks financially once that moratorium ends, and also that the president will continue the moratorium as long as is necessary. And I continue to call on the state of Wisconsin to allow local governments to implement our own eviction moratoria so we can protect our residents. We are currently preempted from being able to do that. And I just want to note another executive action that was taken by President Biden, which directs the United States Housing and Urban Development Agency, or HUD, to take the steps necessary to redress racially discriminatory federal housing policies that have contributed to wealth inequality for generations. It's important to highlight that housing inequality in the U.S. results in many neighborhoods where people of color reside being less resourced, affecting schools, jobs, grocery stores, green spaces, and more. So I applaud the Biden administration's recognition of structural barriers to quality living environments and neighborhoods for all. And I look forward to the ways that cities can work with the federal government on these important issues. The Biden administration also took some important actions on immigration. Less than a month after President Biden took office, he signed a number of executive orders to reverse course on immigration policy. I want to highlight one action in particular that has been a subject of much concern and distress in Madison. In 2019, the Trump administration had announced a new rule called the Public Charge Rule. Under this policy, certain immigrants who received public benefits could be classified as a public charge and ineligible for permanent residency. On February 2nd, 2021, the Biden administration announced an executive order that instructs a, quote, top to bottom review of the public charge rule, rescinds the prior administration's memo on this, and moves us in the right direction around this particular issue. Other things that the Biden administration have done on immigration include reversing the ban on U.S. entry for passport holders from 7 Muslim-majority countries, which is an excellent step in the right direction as well. They're focusing on reunifying families that have been separated at our southern border. They are undoing the expansion of immigration enforcement within the U.S. They are working to preserve and fortify the DACA program, halting the construction of the border wall, and directing federal agencies to improve the integrity and transparency of the refugee admissions program at the federal level. This is really important, and I completely agree with the president in his belief that immigrants are essential to who we are as a nation and critical to our aspirations for the future. I look forward to working with the administration on these issues. If you live in Madison or Dane County and have questions about immigration, you can reach out to Fabiola Hamden at the county. She's our immigration affairs supervisor for Dane County. Her email is hamden@countyofdane.com. That's HAMDAN@countyofdane.com. I want to remind folks that it is still Black History Month, and our public libraries have put together some great resources for learning during Black History Month. And so a couple of things to highlight. On Tuesday, March 2nd at 7, the Wisconsin Book Festival presents The Sum of Us by Heather McGee. And there are many more events and reading lists that are available to you at madisonpubliclibrary.org/events. Look for the special series and Black History Month. So that's madisonpubliclibrary.org/events. Another event to highlight, just want to remind you that Winter is Alive, the Cooler World Carnival, is still happening and is happening through March 7th. This is a multidisciplinary event fusing art and spectacle to revision climate change and activate our global relationships. Winter is Alive provides us the opportunity to reawaken a positive vision of the future where we collaborate to reduce climate change and to create inclusive community between people and nature. From the frozen lakes here in Madison, where UW-Madison graduate students led by Ian Van D construct a project conceptualized by Ohars Feldbergs in Latvia called Dying Iceberg, which demonstrates how artists can collaborate across distance, reducing the carbon footprint in executing their work. To the downtown event kiosks, where Darcy Padilla's abstract images of Madison's frozen lakes are imported into the middle of the isthmus. Visually and conceptually compelling installations are inspiring action and dialogue all across the city. Winter is Alive asks makers and audience to think about and share their answers to the questions: what do you love about winter? What worries you about climate change? And how do we all contribute to global cooling? Winter is Alive features outdoor sculptural installations by over 30 local and international artists, and there are live-streamed performances and narrative events, including open mics and forums. For a list and map of projects and virtual events, please see winterisalive.org. That's winterisalive.org. And I want to thank Downtown Madison Inc. for their partnership on that. It's great to see so many organizations across our community getting involved, both in the arts, but also in the very, very critical issue of climate change. I will end, as I always do, with a run-through of community resources and upcoming meetings. Again, if you're in need of health insurance, healthcare.gov, the exchange is open. If you need help connecting to housing, if you're homelessness or in danger of losing your housing, call the Housing Helpline at 608-264-0549 or email housinginfo@cityofmadison.com. If you need help connecting to internet service or phone service, call the Public Service Commission at the state at 608-267-3595. If you need help finding a child care provider, call 608-216-7022. To identify food resources or a whole array of other social services that are available to you and your family, call 211, that's United Way of Dane County, or you can text your zip code to 898-211. The city also offers a free financial resource hotline to help residents navigate financial issues related to the COVID-19 pandemic. You can find out more at cityofmadison.com/financial hotline or call 608-315-5151. These resources and many more are posted at cityofmadison.com. Click on the community resources link. Meetings coming up in the next week. Again, at cityofmadison.com, you can find the whole list of meetings, including agendas and minutes of previous meetings, how to sign up to testify at these meetings, or just how to watch them online if you're interested. Today, the 18th, Thursday at 4, the Monona Terrace Community and Convention Center Board meets. At 5, the Zoning Board of Appeals will meet. Also at 5, the Landlord and Tenant Issues Committee, and also at 5, the Traffic Calming Subcommittee. At 5:30, the Downtown Coordinating Committee will meet. On Friday the 19th at 4, the Board of Canvassers for the City of Madison meets. That is regarding the election. On Monday, February 22nd at 5:30, the Plan Commission meets, and on Tuesday the 23rd at 4:30, the Common Council Executive Committee will meet, and at 6:30, the Common Council will meet. On Wednesday, the 24th, at 4:30, the Urban Design Commission meets, and at 5, the Transportation Commission will meet. That is it from me for today, except to say congratulations to the folks who made it through the spring primary, and to remind us all that we do have another election in April. So continue to pay attention to the races that are happening in your area. We certainly will have a statewide race, and then every council district in Madison will have an aldermanic race as well, and there's a couple of places where you have county board races. All right. Linda, good morning. Do we have questions?
Good morning. We do have some questions for the Public Health Director and yourself.
All right. We'll start with Janelle then.
Good morning, Janelle.
Good morning.
The first set of questions for you goes, will the vaccine alter your immune system if you already have a good one? Is it safe to take pain medication to help with the symptoms of getting a COVID vaccine? And does it have any, interactions with one's immune system?
Sure. So the vaccine doesn't alter your immune system per se. It tells your system to activate a response when it sees this thing that might make you unhealthy. So even if you have, regardless of your perceptions of your quality of your immune system, I would encourage folks to get vaccinated. And if you have specific questions that think that there may be things that might prevent you from doing so, to contact your healthcare provider if you have one. And along with medication management could help alleviate some of the symptoms, the severity of the symptoms, but it doesn't have an impact on the immune response. And again, contact your doctor check out our website for more coronavirus vaccine questions.
Thank you. And the next set of questions for you says, given the decrease in new cases of COVID and hospitalizations linked to the virus, paired with the increase in vaccinations, what is the timeline for reopening the county? What changes could come within the next month or so? What are the biggest factors delaying a possible reopening?
So I know that it has been an incredibly long year, and we all have different desires and perhaps definitions of reopening. What we hope to do with this last order was to start to project some ways that we are continuing to support reopening in a phased approach. All of the things that were mentioned, lower case counts, lower hospitalizations, or lower percent positivity, fewer deaths are related to all of those things, are all very helpful. In addition to increased vaccine coverage, especially for the folks who are most vulnerable. Those will all work in our favor. And as more vaccine coverage comes on board and these decreasing, other metrics stay at lower rates, those will all support our reopening. Things that could get in the way and things that we need to pay attention to are what I spoke to earlier. A variant could emerge and could result in more hospitalizations and more case counts. But so far, that hasn't been the case here in Dane County. So I would anticipate that with every, all things holding steady, more vaccine coverage, more of the folks who are most vulnerable being vaccinated, we can continue to move forward in that 28-day cycle.
Thank you so much, Janelle. Those are the questions I have for you today.
Thank you.
Mayor, I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak into the last question, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I want to reemphasize how important it is, both our collective action and our individual actions that move us towards being able to do more things together, right? So certainly, if you are eligible to get the vaccine, please connect with your healthcare provider, get the vaccine. When you are eligible, again, your healthcare provider will be reaching out to you, but it's very important that when we can, that we do get vaccinated. I think it's also important to stress that public health here locally, myself, and I'm sure this is true of cities across the state, are advocating very strongly with the state of Wisconsin and the federal government to increase the supply of vaccine to our community. This is really the key for us. In the meantime, it's so important for us to do everything we can to stop transmission of COVID-19, right? That includes continuing to wear our masks, particularly in public spaces. It's going to be very hard for us to start to reopen if people are not masking in public spaces. Because we just cannot take the chance of the transmission, particularly when we see any potential variants in our community. So it's just really important for us to all take the individual actions that we can to prevent the spread, prevent transmission of COVID-19, while we are working on getting everybody vaccinated, which is really the long-term key here for us to be able to suppress the virus and be able to have more people in a room again, or have more of our businesses open. So it's just really important for us to all take those actions, working in the direction of getting our economy reopened.
And the other question we have for you says, the majority of minority businesses were affected during this pandemic. What is the plan to increase the participation of these businesses in grants or in receiving financial support?
Actually, it might be a better question for Matt, but I'm happy to answer it. I think that our folks in Economic Development Division have been working really hard to make sure that people are aware of the resources available to them. Obviously, the SBER grants that Matt spoke about earlier are specifically targeted to underrepresented folks in our small business community. So that is a specific focus on them. But all along, we have been partnering with organizations like DMI, like the BID, like the Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce, like the Latino Chamber and the Black Chamber, to make sure that we're getting good information out about the resources that are available from the federal government, from the state, and of course from the city as well. And I do want to call out in particular, last year, the city doubled our funding to the Latino Chamber and the Black Chamber, and we've made a commitment to continue that level of funding through 21, and obviously we'll look into the future as they have needs as well. And they are key partners for us in reaching into businesses who are owned by folks of color in our community.
Thank you, Mayor. The last question we have for you is regarding the Monona Terrace, and it says, given the news, a consultant is recommending an expansion and renovation of the Monona Terrace. What is the likelihood this could happen? Where does this rank on the city's list of priorities?
Right. So, obviously the first thing that has to happen at Monona Terrace is we need to recover from the impacts of COVID-19. Amongst city agencies, I think that Monona Terrace is perhaps the hardest hit on the budget front because it relies so heavily on events that have not been able to happen and on our room tax, which has just dropped precipitously. So our first priority for Monona Terrace is to recover financially from the impacts of the pandemic. I've been very impressed with how they have pivoted to be able to support virtual events and to facilitate some sorts of events happening, even though they're not able to happen in person, actually at Monona Terrace. So I think they've really adapted well, but we're going to have to continue that. And then hopefully, again, as we all get vaccinated, we'll be able to have events at Monona Terrace again and start to recover financially. Any question of expansion, I think, really has to wait until we have recovered financially at Monona Terrace, and will have to be weighed against other city priorities, not least of which include creating the levels of affordable housing we need in our community and supporting transit for everyone in our community. So I think I would put it fairly far out on the horizon, and I wouldn't expect, it's certainly not something that's going to happen next year. We're going to have to put a lot of energy into recovery first.
Thank you, Mayor. Those are the questions we have for today.
All right. Thank you. Thanks again to Jason and Matt for joining us. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next week at the same time.